Hello, everyone. Welcome to Performing Passions. My name is Thomas Grimwood. I am incredibly passionate about the performing arts. I have autism and mild cerebral palsy. The performing arts are really special to me as they have given me a true sense of belonging and inspired me to champion inclusion and diversity in everything I do. This is a podcast where I talk to people in the wonderful world of the performing arts about what they love about it, as well as what advice they would give to young people starting their performing arts journeys. Here we are sparking a passion for performing. Today, I am delighted and honored to introduce today's guest, Daisy Bayer. So, Daisy, although I've already said your name, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, it's an honor to be here. My name is, as Thomas has said, Daisy, and I'm 20 years old. I've grown up doing aerial with Thomas, so that's how we know each other. And yeah, I can't wait.
Awesome. So, before we get started, I'm gonna do an intro question where I pull a random number out of a beanie, and there are questions associated with each number. So, yeah, here goes. Uh, I, yeah, okay. So, okay, here's your question. If you had to create a new pizza topping, what would it be?
Oh, that is very, very difficult. I love pizza. I love proper Italian pizza.
Yeah.
Um, but like kind of fast foody Domino's. But my favorite thing right now is having honey on my pizza. So I would maybe do hot honey. And I tried something the other day called sobrasada, which I think is a bit like chorizo. It's like a Spanish meat. And I really love that. So I feel like maybe sobrasada and honey would be great.
Awesome. Awesome. That sounds delicious. I might try it later sometime in the future. And yeah, sounds amazing. So, my first question is, how did you get into the performing arts?
Well, I've kind of just always grown up doing it. When I was younger, I used to quite enjoy doing the plays that they had that were on offer at school, in primary school. And then I started Ariel Academy of Performing Arts. Um, and when I was a lot younger, I was actually really, really shy. And there I just really kind of came out of my shell and grew in confidence a lot. And I think really found a passion for it. And I did that from when I was like 8 or 9 until I had to leave at 18.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I especially love the bit of the helping you come out of your shell. I feel like that's such a wonderful thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, sounds amazing. Eh,
Yeah, I think it is. I think it helps a lot of people to come out of their shell doing like acting and singing and dancing and meeting loads of friends there and stuff.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. So my next question is, who are your inspirations slash role models?
Well, I find this question quite hard because there's just so many amazing performers, and I kind of change who my role model is depending on what play or musical I've recently seen. But someone that kind of keeps coming back to my mind is Eva Noblezada, um, because I saw her. I've only seen the recorded version of Miss Saigon, the 25th anniversary recording that she's in, and from that moment on, I just became obsessed with her. I think she's so, so, so talented. And then the kind of progression of her career in Hadestown, and then recently in Cabaret, is just a lot of kind of dream shows for me. And then maybe I was thinking in just acting and not musical theatre, probably someone like Olivia Colman, because she's done an amazing amount of things, and she also just comes across as such a lovely person, I think.
Yeah, definitely excellent choices. Yeah, Olivia Colman especially, yeah.
Yeah,
She seems really lovely, yeah.
yeah, I think she does.
Yeah.
And so talented as well.
Yeah, so amazing. So recently you performed in Vote for Musical, and I wanted to ask what interested you about your character in Vote, and what was the creative process like of playing this character?
Well, just to give everyone a bit of background, Vote is a show that basically explores the suffragettes, but and women getting the right to vote. But it's not about the moment they actually got the right to vote. It's kind of about what made them turn angry and kind of all the abuse that they endured behind the scenes. And so my character, Mary Abbott, um, she had loads of things happen to her, like her best friend was getting abused and then died. She's doing this fight for her daughter. She gets put in jail for trying to protest. She really goes through it. And so, yeah, that's what she's about. And then playing her is very interesting because Vote the Musical, written by Phoebe Perry, is a new musical that she's written starting off when she was in like year nine, when she was about 14 or 15 at school. And she's kept writing it and writing it. And eventually last year we had the opportunity to take it to the Fringe, which was amazing. But that meant that it was basically a new musical, and developing this character, Phoebe obviously had a strong idea of what she was already and was really helpful in directing that. But I kind of had to take an element of creating her for myself, and that's something that I've never really done before. So it was a really kind of interesting process because I had this character on paper, and she was super interesting because it was such a difficult role to play, I think, because she's more mature than I am. She's older than I am. And also, so much awful stuff happens to her. And that's kind of what I like anyway. I like getting a meaty character that's got lots of kind of things that have happened. And, it's difficult to play as an actor. I like a challenge. But then also, kind of what made it even harder and even more interesting was the fact that it was all kind of new. And so there was a kind of lot of a kind of bi-directional between me and Phoebe, who was our director, relationship of like, she'd have suggestions and I'd have suggestions. And that's what's so lovely about Vote, is that we kind of, worked with each other a lot, and it felt like the actor was more involved in the show and in who the character was than kind of I've ever been before.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't know if that's answered the question very
yes,
concisely, but
yes, okay, it's given a lot of insight, and it sounds very incredible, and a lot of work has gone into this musical and the characters, and it sounds like Phoebe's done a wonderful job of directing it. And
yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting because it is a character, but it's also very real and based on a big historical event with the suffragette movement. Am I
Yeah,
saying that right?
yeah, you are.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah, good.
it's a good point to note, and that was another kind of thing that drew me to the character. Is there's so much history behind what we were doing with Vote and what we were trying to show to people, and it was really important to me and to Phoebe and to everyone else in the cast to really represent the women who fought well, and kind of there's kind of a sense being a woman today of wanting to make the women who fought for my rights proud if they could know what we were doing. So yeah, that was also another thing that drew me to the character, I'd say.
That sounds amazing. And it's amazing that Vote is shining a light on this movement that's been really important for equal rights for women. So
Yeah.
sounds amazing. And following on from that, what are your thoughts on performing arts mixed with history?
I think it's so important. I kind of believe that theatre and performing arts is a vessel to kind of give people messages about politics or about kind of beliefs. And, equality obviously is such a huge message to be sharing in the context of vote. But I think in general, mixing performing arts with history has so much power to teach people about what we have today, and also mirror kind of struggles that have happened in history and are still happening today, and make sure that they're fresh in people's minds, and that people try to focus on making a change, whether that's with rights for women or rights for anyone really.
Yeah, I think performing arts mixed with history is a very great combination. And there are other musicals like Hamilton or Six.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I don't know about your school experience, but I've learned a lot more about like Henry VIII's wives from Six than at school. Although
Yeah.
I
Same.
I didn't take history for the record. Or yeah, uh, and Hamilton as well. Like I learned lots about Hamilton through the musical.
Yeah,
Oh
same. I
yeah,
know more about kind of the founding fathers of America than anyone else I know, purely from Hamilton.
yeah, yeah. So if I did history without Hamilton Six and other musicals, I'd be pretty hopeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing with Vote is that all the songs are original, and I've listened to the soundtrack, which is on Spotify and other music platforms, and I was curious what's the process like of learning new original songs like?
It was difficult for sure, because often if I do like a musical, I go on Spotify and listen to the soundtrack, and that's how I learn the songs. Um, we were sent the sheet music before we went into rehearsals, which had been kind of written out, which is really helpful if you can read sheet music. I can't. So I had to book a lesson with my singing teacher in, and then we went through kind of very roughly the songs before we went into the rehearsal process. And she allowed me to record her playing them so that I could get myself a bit familiar with them and kind of know the rough tune. And then, yeah, we went through them with like a fine comb in the rehearsal room and really kind of broke it all down and learnt it step by step. And Cyrus Dean, who's kind of composed the music, and also was our musical director, um, was really helpful. Just breaking it all down, as well as Johnny Gell, who was our other musical director, who actually came to the Fringe with us, really helpful in helping us remember all of the parts. And, if you had questions, you couldn't just figure it out yourself. You did have to go to them. So they had a big kind of burden on their shoulders, but they were really, really helpful, and we couldn't have done it without them.
Awesome, that sounds amazing. And it's a great insight into learning original songs because they didn't
Yeah,
exist prior. Like, there's no like karaoke version on YouTube.
yeah,
Oops, so
yeah.
yeah, it sounds
It just means
awesome.
you have to work extra hard in rehearsals, because once you're outside of rehearsals, you can't work on them alone as much. But it's definitely something that's really fun to do.
Yeah, sounds amazing. And one question I want to ask is, what's your favorite type of character to play?
This is a really difficult question, I would say, because for me, what's exciting is getting to play like a really big variety of characters who kind of come from different places, or kind of have different roles within the play. So I like playing, the character who's gone through really tough times, and has like a really sad ballad that always is a fan favorite for me. But then also, it's really nice sometimes to play a comedic character, or kind of a strong kind of powerhouse character. I think overall for me, it's just the variety. But if I had to pick, I'd say kind of a character that's been through some tough times. As horrible as that sounds, I just think as an actor, it gives you kind of a platform to be able to share an important story and, you know, to challenge yourself to connect with something. And so, yeah, that's, a character I've always loved to play, for an example, is like Eponine in Les Mis, because it's hopelessly sad, but she's such an amazing character. And, she really she's very strong in her own way, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything horrible in wanting to play a character who's been through some stuff, because I think it helps make it more relatable. Like people
Yeah,
who've gone through things, like characters can connect with them in certain ways. Hasten as
yeah,
well as like comedic characters, those are a great shout out as well. Love playing them.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think the variety's amazing and very important. And to play a variety of roles in different musicals also very important as well.
yeah. I agree. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. What are three things you love about the performing arts?
Um, it's kind of hard to condense three things I love into just three things because there's so many different things I love. Um, I think the first would have to be that I just find it so fun and it's my passion and I just love doing it and it makes me feel so amazing when I get to do it. So that's kind of a pretty obvious one. I think the second is I've always met such lovely, lovely people doing it. Um, and that's something that isn't always the easiest thing to do. So to be able to find kind of a community within it is just so lovely. And wherever I go, I can join a acting group or society and, have always managed to make some really good friends from that. And I think that's so lovely. And then the third thing, probably that it's, I think, so important in kind of teaching people about kind of the way of the world, I guess. I mean, that's quite broad, but in sharing messages which actors and directors think are important to spread to the community, awareness about certain things, fighting for certain things, historical messages and teachings, all that kind of stuff, I think is so important. And I think it's a great way to do that because it's such an engaging way to teach people and to try and get people to listen to what you want to tell them.
Yeah, that all sounds awesome. Like fun, 100% agreed. Like it's lots of fun and yeah, definitely brings lots of joy and community. Like it's one of my favorite things really. And it's
Yeah,
so wonderful how it brings different people together on a
yeah,
variety of projects like musicals, shows, etc. And with messages, I think it's very important and powerful as well. Like how lots of stories connect with different people, all them things like that. And yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I think it's so important. And yeah, it connects people from all over the world as well and from all different places, like because of a shared passion or a shared belief, which is such an amazing thing to be able to do.
yeah, that's so amazing. One final question I want to ask is, what's your advice for a young person either starting their performing arts journey or taking their next steps?
I think if you're starting out, the advice I would give is just to have fun and to just throw yourself into it. And it's difficult because I think young people sometimes go through a stage where they find certain things that their acting teacher might tell them to do a little bit embarrassing, or they're a little bit shy of it. But what I've learned, I'd say, is the more you throw yourself into it and commit 100% to the character you're playing or the exercise you're doing or the piece you're creating, the more you'll have like gained from it at the end, and just the more fun you'll have. So I think that's a really key piece of advice if you're just kind of starting out and you haven't done much theatre before. And then a piece of advice for people who are maybe taking the next steps could be just to commit to what you love and just throw yourself into it. And you know, if you want something, I kind of believe if you want it bad enough and you're willing to, you know, put everything into it, it will happen. So you've just got to keep going and keep going and keep going and learn that, you know, rejections are a part of it. That's what everyone says, but they are. And you know, having rejections earlier on when you first start out is helpful because you grow, you know, you learn how you need to deal with them. And yeah, you've just got to throw yourself in 100% at all stages, probably. That's kind of an overall piece of advice, I would say.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's like throwing yourself in is very important as well, to just
Yeah.
get in and have lots of fun with it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's an amazing thing to do, like whether you're starting out or like next steps or in any stage really, just get in there and
Yeah. Just get in there and do it. And I think, to be honest, I'm not that qualified to be giving advice out to people who are just starting out because really, I mean, I'm so young and I still want to go into acting, but I'm just kind of figuring it out myself. But I think you just got to enjoy the process as well, is what I would say. Enjoy your life. Like, you know, you've got years to live, so just like live them, and yeah, just throw yourself in and enjoy it and don't feel overly pressured to do anything. And yeah, to be honest.
yeah, sounds amazing. In that. And so, yeah, thank you for coming on this podcast. Really appreciate it. You've given lots of insight, and thank you again for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really loved chatting and talking about something that we both love so much. It's been such an
Yeah,
honor, and I'm so happy that you thought of me.
you're welcome. Thank you for coming on. And thank you so much to all of our listeners. Stay tuned for more episodes. Please comment, rate, and share the podcast. And please follow Be for Change Media Network and check out the other amazing podcasts they have.